What if the most important changes in your life are happening quietly inside? Stay tuned for how the personal transformation process often shifts internally long before anything visible appears. Welcome back to the Resilient MD, the podcast and YouTube channel where women and physicians explore burnout, resilience, identity shifts, and how to care for others without losing themselves in the process. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, certified life coach, allergist, and today we're marking a quiet milestone in the butterfly year journey. I know some people might think the butterfly metaphor is a little cliche or even a bit cheesy, but the reality is it remains one of the most powerful images of transformation we have because real change often happens quietly, internally, and long before anyone else can see it. In a way, it is surprisingly profound. So bear with me here. Over the past several episodes, we've been exploring the cocoon, that in-between phase of transformation where life slows down and internal changes begin to take shape. But today, we're not opening the wings yet. We're simply closing the cocoon. In a culture that values constant progress and visible milestones, the quiet phases of transformation can feel very confusing. Have you ever sensed that something inside you had shifted even before anything in your life looks different on the outside? Do you notice how that constant sense of urgency can slowly begin to soften, almost quietly, without you forcing it? Have you ever realized that you start listening to yourself more deeply, even if no one else can see that change yet? It feels confusing because the earliest changes that occur during transformation are almost entirely internal, through shifts in awareness, patience, and self-trust. There's no announcement, no visible milestone, no clear moment when everything suddenly looks different. Instead, something quieter happens. Your relationship with urgency begins to soften. Your attention turns inward more naturally. You start noticing signals you once ignored. From the outside, your life may look very similar to what it did before, but internally, something has shifted. You're listening more, reacting less, allowing questions to exist without rushing towards answers. These are subtle changes, but they are meaningful ones. In our culture, we often expect every chapter to end with a clear conclusion, a decision, a declaration, a defined next step. But the cocoon doesn't close with a plan. It closes with integration. You may not know exactly what comes next, but you may notice something else instead. A steadier relationship with uncertainty, a quieter mind, a growing sense of trust in your own timing. Completion isn't always about knowing where you're going. Sometimes it's about recognizing that you are no longer where you were. Instead of asking what comes next, today we're simply pausing to reflect on what has already shifted. If you think back over the past season, the weeks or months we've been inside this cocoon, you may notice small but meaningful changes. Perhaps urgency softened, Perhaps you allowed yourself more space. Perhaps curiosity began to return. You may have started noticing what truly energizes you, what drains you more than it used to, what expectations no longer feel necessary. These insights don't always arrive dramatically. They accumulate slowly, like quiet pieces of understanding gathering over time. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment. I'm curious, have you been feeling exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated and not quite sure why? Are you quietly wondering if this is just how life in medicine has to be? Well, I see you. You don't have to give up on yourself or your dreams. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. I built a 6-week one-on-one coaching program designed to help women physicians gently remove the barriers keeping them stuck and rediscover clarity, balance, and purpose. It is called the Resilient MD, just like the podcast and YouTube channel. If you are ready, you can begin today. Schedule your free clarity call. The link is in the show's notes. Another way to recognize transformation is to notice what feels steadier than it did before. Maybe you're less reactive to external pressure. Maybe the question, what's next, doesn't feel quite as urgent. Maybe you've become more comfortable saying, I'm still listening. I'm allowing things to unfold. Steadiness doesn't mean certainty. It simply means you've built enough trust in the process that you no longer feel the need to force it. As we close this cocoon phase, there may be things you want to carry with you into the next season. Perhaps it's a deeper respect for your own pace. Perhaps it's the habit of listening inward before reacting outward. Perhaps it's the awareness that your worth was never tied to how quickly you could produce answers or your productivity. These are quiet strengths. They become the foundation for what comes next. And just as importantly, there may be things you're ready to leave behind. The pressure to decide immediately, the belief that pauses must be justified, the idea that transformation has to be dramatic to be real. You're allowed to leave those expectations inside the cocoon. They've served their purpose. You don't need them for the next phase. Before we close today, I'd like to invite you into a brief reflection. If you have a journal nearby, you may want to write this down later. Imagine writing a short letter to the version of yourself who entered this cocoon phase. You might say, "Thank you for slowing down when everything in you wanted to keep rushing. Thank you for listening when the answers weren't clear. Thank you for trusting that something important was happening even when it wasn't visible yet." And you might add one final sentence. "I'm proud of the way you stayed." Today, we're not opening the wings yet. We're simply acknowledging that something inside the cocoon has completed its work. You may not know exactly what the next chapter will look like, but you're no longer the same person who entered this space. And that quiet shift is enough. As we move forward, we enter the next season of this journey, the season of awareness. For now, remember this: my wings grow when I listen. If this message stayed with you, share it with someone who might need it as they are embarking on their own transformation. We will be starting a new phase of our journey, the season of awareness. It will certainly be eye-opening. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And let's turn insight into action. The time management series laid the groundwork. Now grab that guide that helps you put it into practice. Learn how to reclaim 10 hours a week and finally breathe again. Get your copy at annamcdowell.com/guide or hit the link in the description below. And if this episode was helpful for you, could you do me a quick favor? Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite platform and like this video on YouTube. It only takes a second and helps this podcast so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring your own timing. And thank you for allowing this transformation to unfold gently. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, a resilient MD just like you. I'll see you next week.